I will call this meeting to order at 1:04 p.m. This is the monthly meeting of the Flagstaff City Coconino County Library Board. Today's August 10th, Thursday, and we will move down our agenda, starting with a call to order. So could I ask Starla to do that for us, please?
Yeah.
Carmen I'm sorry, a roll call, sorry.
Yeah, Carmen Leadership.
Present.
Catherine Moore. Here. Supervisor Judy Begay.
Here.
Thanks. Lisa Gainey.
Here.
Frank Garcia. Corey Hartman.
Here.
And Beth Verstreet.
Here.
Awesome. Thank you for doing that. We'll move along to item number 3, which is public participation. Do we have any members of the public there in that room? I don't see any. Okay, and I don't see any in the chat room either. So we will skip over to item 5, which is approval of the minutes, June 2023. If any board members are ready, I can go ahead and open the floor for a second. Oh, there's Frank.
I'll second.
I mean, a motion and a second. Sorry.
I'll move to approve the board meeting minutes.
Thank you, Lisa. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Corey. Hi, Frank.
Hello.
Just
Sorry,
for the hi, for the record, Frank has joined at 1:06 p.m. So we do have everyone present. All right, so we have Frank, just to bring you up to speed, we just approved the June 2023 minutes. So now we're moving on to item number 5, which is our reports and discussion items. We have 3 there in queue, and I do want to just kind of, as guidance, offer that if we can stick to around 10 minutes each for each item. We have 1, the director's report, 2, the Flagstaff Regional Plan update presentation, and then 3, the Tuba City Public Library. So we can start with you, Linda.
Okay, probably most of note here in my director's report is the ADA front entry project, because we're really we're there, and it's substantially completed. There are still a few punch list items outstanding, but this is very big news after spending so much time getting here, after Richard spending so much time getting here.
Yay. We're there, finish line is crossed. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and we did have lots of wonderful input from the public about how much they loved it. We also had a few complaints. People were concerned about how hot the iron bars, the handrails, were getting, particularly the ones where the stairs are. And then we also had requests for more shade around the seating areas. And so we're working on both of those items. We also had at least a couple of people wonder why the stairs are small and the entry ramp is long. And so we might need to have some signage kind of explaining the background of the project. And it was really from the Committee on Inclusion and Adaptive Living, this concept of everyone traveling the same path, the able-bodied, people in wheelchairs. So emphasis was placed on the ramps rather than the stairs. And so that's why it is what it is in case you get questions about it. But we're kind of kicking around, maybe we should put some signage out there because people who aren't familiar with the project might have that same question. I think our human nature many times is I'll take the fastest way in. It's just, I don't know, I think a lot of us think that way in this busy society. So I think we might need a little explanation of why. Did you want to add something to that, Richard? You look like you want to say something.
That's for sure. Yeah, human nature is exactly, path of least resistance. What's the quickest way from point A to point B? If you all are asked, of course, the reasons why the pathways are as long as they are is to meet accessibility, needs. The ADA has very tight tolerances for how highly graded a ramp can be. And since we are already working on a pre-existing location with very limited space, they did have to loop around to meet those standards. So that is why they are the way that they are.
Okay. Any questions about the front entry? It's kind of one of the biggest items. We're continuing to do some work on the IGA intergovernmental agreement with Coconino County. An amendment has been put together that changes it. So this time it will only be a 2-year renewal rather than the typical 5. And so that's in the new amendment, as well as some other changes. One of them is making it a little more flexible for the spending of growth funds. So giving the Board of Supervisors, with advice from the Library Council, the ability to spend funds, those growth funds, on projects that benefit the whole system. So in the past few years, a couple of things like a new IT person to serve all the locations or a marketing specialist, those types of things, giving the Board of Supervisors a little more flexibility with that funding. So yesterday I met with the affiliate libraries, which, just as a reminder, are Page, Fredonia, Sedona, Williams, what am I missing?
Tuba City's branch.
Yeah, Tuba City's
Oh,
a
okay.
branch. Is that all affiliates?
Yep, you got them all.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm getting a little quicker at this. So it seems that group, since they are the Library Council, as defined by the intergovernmental agreement, they were agreeable to those suggested changes to the agreement. So next, those get signed by each of those municipalities that have affiliate libraries, as well as the City of Flagstaff and the county. So to do any kind of a change, there are a lot of steps because of the complex structure that we have. So that was another one that I wrote something about in this report. And if you have further questions for me, feel free to ask them now, ask me later if it comes to mind later. I think those are kind of two of the really major.
What's the library district structure?
Which,
Underneath affiliates meeting?
Oh, okay, yes. So as a part of, one of the things in that amendment is we put in wording about doing a new study to look at the structure of the overall organization and how the county funds are administered. And so we've put together this RFP in anticipation that once that amendment is approved, that we can move forward with a new study. Because you may remember from our conversations at prior meetings, the last time this study was done and this was put in place was about 30 years ago. So it's probably time to look at, is this still serving all of the participants and all of the communities as it should be in the best way possible? So that's what the RFP is about, and we're just getting a little ahead of ourselves, having it ready to roll once the amendment is signed off by everybody. And we also met with some individuals from the county, because the funds for that study will be coming out of the county funds. And so we met with individuals from the county to find out about their RFP process, and they have their own software and their own set of rules about how they do this type of work. So we've done that groundwork as well. So we'll be ready to roll. Okay, I'm not timing myself, but those are the major things that I wanted to go over. Yeah. Oh, the only other thing I wanted to point out, now that I look at it, is under Connect Arizona webinar. I went to this webinar and I didn't really know anything about Connect Arizona from the state library, but I think this is such a cool thing that I wanted everyone to know about it, because they have these digital navigators. So they actually have a team that helps talk people through using their technology, and also helps them find affordable internet access. This is a completely free service to people anywhere in the state of Arizona. So I thought that was kind of amazing, and wanted to point that out in case any of you had not heard of that service.
So there's like a phone number to help those that can't get to websites? 'Cause
Yeah, there's
Sorry,
the
people.
telephone number they can be reached by. You can find them online, but right, if you can't get online, you can't find them. So yeah, I just thought that was a really great service. Oh, I almost missed the website. I'm sorry.
I was gonna.
Yeah,
The
say, what about
website's
the website?
huge. The
We have a new
website's huge. The website's huge. Yeah, if you haven't had a chance, make sure you click in and take a look at the new website. It looks phenomenal. And I want to give a shout out, I think I do in my report, to particularly Richard and Mark for all the background work on making that happen. We look like we're in the right century now for websites, and it's beautiful, and I think very easy to navigate and very intuitive, because I've already gone in a couple of times and tried to find something that I had used before on the old version, and I find it easier.
That was definitely a goal of ours, and for those of you, out in further out in the county, we have not forgotten about you. Outside of the page in Sedona, they've decided to stick with what they got. We will be redoing web pages for all of our branch and affiliate libraries too, to be very similar. So,
Same URL?
it'll be different URLs, but same system. We all work together, same catalog, just fresh coat of paint for everyone.
Okay, that's really all I have, unless people have questions for me.
Hello?
I did have a quick, whoops, I'm sorry.
Hello?
I think Judy might accidentally have her speaker on, because that sounds like background noise.
Hello?
I had a quick,
This is Judy Gay. I just kept saying hello. I don't know if you guys are hearing me or not.
We can hear you.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to say that the report that you that was just made, if there's anything that you need help, as far as finding out information, where to go, what the next steps may be, just get a hold of me and I can go ahead and get the information for you, because I know that the county staff are pretty busy and they have scheduled out 2 weeks out sometimes, but I am willing to go in there and get information so that we're not stalling anywhere and that we're moving forward. So that's what I wanted to say, but I'm over here at a funeral reception right now, but I'm listening to the meeting just for everyone's information. So thank you so much for all the work you guys do.
Thanks, Judy. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Judy. Okay, Corey.
Hi, thanks. I just had a question about the strategic plan that you're working on for the developing the values and the mission statement.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. When do you think that'll go to the next steps for the all staff meeting and to the library board?
We just set a date for the next all staff meeting, and it's escaping me when we set it for, Kirsten. When did we?
It's next Thursday morning at 8 a.m. So we'll be presenting the committee work to the rest of the staff regarding mission statement and vision statement for their input and possible voting. And once we've gotten that feedback, we'll be prepping things to come to you guys, I think, at that point. Right, Linda?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we'll be bringing the findings from now we've done two different exercises, one with all staff and one with the committee I described in the report. And so one more all staff and then board.
Great.
Good
Thank you.
question. Yeah. I just wanted to say kudos and congratulations. Thank you, Mark and Richard, for all the help with the website. I saw it and it looks really just awesome. It's definitely an upgrade from what we had before. And I'm just curious to know what community feedback you've received so far.
Sure. To speak very briefly, it's been almost entirely positive. People have very tongue-in-cheek welcomed us into the 21st century, which is great. It's very user-friendly. We've had a few people who, why did you have to change it? I like the way it was, but that's just how some people are. But overall, people love it. It's much easier to use. It's much more easy on the eyes. So engagement has been great.
Awesome. All right. It sounds like we're dwindling with our comments. Any last questions or feedback from the board about Linda's report? No. Okay, great. Thank you, Linda. Let us move on to the Flagstaff Regional Plan Update presentation. Jordan Hollinger and Sarah Dechter.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
My name's Joseph. I'm an intern from the city of Flagstaff. I'm filling in for Sarah and Jordan. Okay.
Okay, welcome. Thank you.
Can everybody see my screen okay? It should say Flagstaff Regional Plan 2045 update.
Yes.
Okay, great. My name is Joseph O'Connell, and I'm an intern for the City of Flagstaff Comprehensive Planning Program, as well as part of the team that's working on the Flagstaff Regional Plan 2045 update. That involves taking our current regional plan, which provides a vision up to the year 2030, and updating it to meet the needs of the community up until 2045. As you may remember or may not, we went around about a year ago to boards and commissions and conducted a SWOT analysis, which asked the boards to engage on topics like what are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that are presented to the Flagstaff region's future. Since then, we've taken those insights and developed a number of different public engagement opportunities, and we feel that we're at a great point to provide an update on where we are in the update process and what to expect moving forward. In the beginning stages of the update process, the comprehensive planning team divided the update process into 4 distinct phases, with phase 1 being get curious and gain understanding. That involved preparing background material, conducting informational webinars about things that are contained in the regional plan update process, as well as collecting preliminary data through things like SWOT analyses and generating excitement and awareness of the update process going on through public outreach events and art events that we also conducted. Now, as of the fall of 2022, we are in phase 2, which is about determining what's possible and creating a vision for the future of Flagstaff. The first portion of that was our visioning workshops, and we are now in the scenario planning process, which will be the main topic of today's discussion. Since we're getting close to the actual writing of the plan, which is phase 3, I'll briefly touch on that as well. As I previously stated, as of fall 2022, we entered phase 2, and the first step in that is visioning workshops. For our visioning workshops, we held 11 workshops in 11 different locations to provide convenience and accessibility to the workshops. The question that we tried to answer in these workshops was to think about where and how you live, work, and play in the Flagstaff region? And how can we build a community together that allows all community members of the region to thrive through 2045 and beyond? In total, we had 150 plus participants that worked on answering this question, and it was done through a variety of different activities, such as asset mapping that allowed people to take a map and identify areas in the Flagstaff region that they feel are assets, as well as talking about challenges and trade-offs that might exist in the future of Flagstaff up to 2045. And also we conducted a activity called Talk with Your Neighbor that allowed people to share their vision with others and see where there's similarities as well as where there might be differences in how people envision Flagstaff moving forward. Concurrently with those workshops, we also posted a visioning survey on the Flagstaff Community Forum that asked similar questions for people that could not attend in person. From that, we got 126 additional responses. So what did we hear? Some major topics that we heard pertain to the natural environment, open space, and sustainability, particularly a desire to protect those natural resources that identify some of Flagstaff's character, as well as a desire to be resilient and prepared for the impacts of climate change. There was also a large emphasis on multimodal transportation in terms of adding connectivity for biking, walking, and transit throughout town and in rural areas. People also spoke frequently about housing options and the need to provide affordable housing and adequate housing options for people of all different needs. There was an emphasis on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and particularly a future where all residents have the broad range of needs met and where underrepresented populations are genuinely engaged and included in government decision-making. People were concerned about character and heritage preservation. That is, taking time to preserve the diverse culture and history that identifies Flagstaff's character. And finally, local government accountability, and that is a future where Flagstaff and Coconino County are responsive to the needs of the community. Now, the current phase, the current step of phase 2 that we're on is the scenario planning process. The scenario planning process involves recognizing that the future is uncertain and we don't exactly know what the world is going to look like in 2045, but then taking that opportunity and testing different scenarios and different policy directions and alternatives to see what we think as a region would be the best way to realize the vision, regardless of what future uncertainties might approach us. We do that with a modeling program called Urban Footprint. It's a sketch modeling program that allows us to input different variables and see what outcomes come in terms of growth based on those variables. Above is a project timeline for the scenario planning process. We're currently in the scenario theme section. So in the spring, we conducted public workshops called Face the Future that allowed people to face different random uncertainties like different growth variables, funding, different climate change, and what that could look like in 2045, and essentially play a game and think about how they would approach growth based on those uncertain variables. From that, we were able to gather a number of different insights about how people would approach that. And now we're in the scenario theme section, which involves taking the feedback that we received and all the data that we collected and creating themes that will inform the alternative scenarios that will be brought forth to the public in the fall. With that, we have a technical advisory group, which is made up of community and technical experts that are all volunteers and pulled from a larger group of experts. And they do not decide on policy or policy direction. They merely inform the process of how we test and make sure that our testing process for scenarios is robust and inclusive. They meet once or twice a month, and the meetings are posted on the Flagstaff Regional Plan 2045 update website, as well as there is a form that's provided to provide asynchronous comments to the recordings. In order to make the scenario themes, we conducted a workshop called Face the Future Flagstaff. In total, we conducted 13 workshops as well as 5 non-traditional workshops where we went into transitional housing, educational settings, as well as we conducted an all Spanish workshop to try to make sure that everybody had the opportunity to contribute to these scenario themes and these growth ideas. In total, we collected 60 maps and had 285 plus participants and representation from 10 community-based organizations. The game itself involved, or the activity itself involved gamifying the process of scenario planning. So we took groups of 5 to 6 people and gave them a gridded map of the Flagstaff region. From there, we had them draw potential uncertainties in terms of high, low, and medium growth funding and climate change variables. And from there, the groups had to take their variables and decide what the best way to grow in the Flagstaff region was from that. It forced people to drop some of their presumptions about what the future might hold and work collectively just based on random variables. From that, we received 60 maps as well as facilitation notes that detailed and documented what was being talked about at the tables, as well as decisions being made in the game. We gave the digitized information that we digitized and gave it to our consultant firm, which is a third party that's doing the modeling process for us. And some of the things we heard a general support for growth in terms of mixed use development and amenities across neighborhoods and rural activity centers. But with that, also a need to manage density in terms of view sheds and viewscapes, as well as a desire to limit development in some areas that could be considered open or green space. There was also a general support and desire for more transit connectivity, both in terms of public transportation, roads, as well as multimodal. And then finally, there was a large interest in state and federal forest areas, as well as open and green space being protected and a coveted resource that gives Flagstaff its character. So getting to the scenario theme process, from those facilitation notes, the Face the Future workshops, the maps we created, the visioning workshops, as well as our community surveys, we developed 6 growth ideas that sort of encompassed many of the major themes that were being spoke about across all these different public engagement formats. From there, we're meeting with our technical advisory group and our consultant firm to figure out how these growth ideas fit together and different ways that they can be packaged in order to create scenario themes that will inform the 3 alternative scenarios that we are creating to present to the public to address growth in an uncertain future. Along with that, we have a 4th alternative scenario, which is our business as usual scenario. This business as usual scenario takes current and past trends and extrapolates them out to 2045 to try to predict or envision how the future of the Flagstaff region may be if things were to continue as they do today. What our consultants found is that if trends continue as they have today, many of the policy directions and many of the issues that people have identified in the Flagstaff region or that people are concerned about occurring in the Flagstaff region may stagnate or worsen. Things like affordable housing, they predicted may worsen, as well as traffic congestion and commute times. So what's coming up? It's a little outdated. June 15th, we had a webinar that sort of explain the 6 growth ideas that were formed, as well as how those growth ideas might be packaged, what exactly they mean, and that webinar can be seen on our website as well as commented on. The open house was an in-person version of that webinar that sort of gave people another format in which they could watch the webinar in person. Our Tag 5 meeting was the first opportunity that our technical advisory group had to see the scenario themes and start to think about how our growth ideas fit together into forming different scenarios. And then finally in September or October, we'll be coming forth to the public with the scenario choosing process. So moving into phase 3. Phase 1 and 2 were extremely focused on public engagement and learning what people's insights were and visions for the future were, as well as concerns and experiences. Phase 3, on the other hand, will involve actually writing the plan. So that'll be kicked off with the scenario choosing process. In the fall, we're going to be coming forth with our 3 alternative scenarios and allowing the public to engage with them and figure out what they mean, as well as ultimately choose a preferred scenario to be included in the Flagstaff Regional Plan. From there, the council and board will have a manager-appointed committee that will oversee the writing of the Flagstaff Regional Plan. Each council and board member will provide nominations to the clerk, and then the staff will create a report based on the nominations for the city and county manager that will identify potential gaps in knowledge or over and under representation by both demographic and geographic groups. From there, the city and county manager will review and invite approximately 20 members to join the committee. The meetings will begin either this month or next month, and there will be 1 to 2 meetings per month for the committee. It's not a formal committee, but they will set up rules and procedures to ensure the meetings are advertised, posted, and available to the public. There will also be opportunities for public comment at the meetings, and the committee will have the power to produce extra public engagement opportunities if they deem it necessary. So how will the plan be created? After determining the rules and procedures for meetings, they'll set a schedule and go over the scenario planning framework, which was the scenario that will be chosen here in the next month by the public. From there, there'll be writing objectives set. And then the first chapter that will be written will be the land use chapter in terms of how we use our land and how we grow with the land we have. Then the future growth illustration will be created and reviewed, and that will inform all of the other goals and policies and chapters that are written in the plan. From there, staff will prepare the chapters to be submitted and reviewed, and then the committee will support the plan, request a final legal review, and then there will be a required public review. The goal is to have the plan on a ballot measure by 2025. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Yeah.
I have a question. So this new plan doesn't really take effect until 2045, is that right?
No, so our current regional plan, it takes effect when it's voted in by city residents. So that would be 2025 around. And it is essentially a long range planning document that provides like a vision and a goals and policies up until the year 2045. And then ideally, the specific plans for neighborhoods and resources, as well as zoning code, housing standards, and engineering standards, those sorts of things will mirror the goals of the regional plan. But this is more very long range, trying to establish policies that deliver us to where we decide we want to be by 2045.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Anybody else?
What happens like if it's on the ballot and I guess it's like one of those 3 plans, it's on the ballot and it gets voted down, then what is that, like back to the drawing board?
So the 3 scenarios being chosen will be more of like a public workshop type of public meeting sort of thing. That will not be a ballot measure. The regional plan itself in total will be, and if it were not voted in, yeah, it would be back to revising to try to create something that would be voted in.
Okay. I wonder, like, as far as the library goes, like, is there a way we could like have links on the homepage or someplace on the website to? I mean, it's hard to remember. Like, okay, in August there's going to be this, in September that, and this link, and.
I imagine they have a space on the city website for that. Is that your?
There is all of our events are posted on the Flagstaff Regional Plan Update website, as well as the city website. And then we also have an email list where you can sign up, and it's usually about 1 email a month that will be sent out with any upcoming events. And that can also be found, the link to the email sign up can be found on the Flagstaff Regional Plan Update website, which I believe is still up on the screen, yeah.
Hey, Joseph, quick question.
Yeah.
Looking through the different options, and I'm probably going to go outside my scope a little bit with this question, but I'm going to do it anyway. You know, there's for Flagstaff in particular, you either build out or you build up, and you know, I saw some expansion ideas there. You know, expanding Donny Park, which you know we've already kind of looked at, but based on your feedback that you've received, what do you think has the most community support, you know, for those options?
I would say that it was mixed. Just based on our growth ideas, there was support for infill. There was support for rural activity centers in terms of growing in places like Donny Park or Kachina or Belmont and supporting those areas. And then there was also people that when they were playing, say, Face the Future Flagstaff, our scenario planning game where we got a lot of our feedback, there were people that were using a lot of the greenfield sites in inside the Flagstaff city limits. So it was very diverse in all three of those in terms of growth ideas. So rural activity centers, greenfield sites, growing in downtown and around NAU, as well as growing on the east side, were all things that made it into growth ideas and will be incorporated in the scenario modeling process. So when they're brought forth to the public to look at and sort of weigh in, my feeling is, I haven't personally seen them yet. They're still with our third party being modeled. My feeling is that there will be options where all of those are reflected in some way to sort of look at. It was very diverse in how people were interested in growth.
All right, thank you, Joseph.
Of course.
Okay, it's looking like there's no other further questions or comments. Thank you, Joseph, for providing us with an update about what's going on with the regional plan process.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so our third report will be done by Pearl Goldtooth on the Tuba City Public Library.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Hi, my name is Pearl Goldtooth, and I'm the library supervisor here at the Tuba City Public Library, and I have a staff of 4. And okay, I'm going to give you the reports that, you know, we are excited that we've got the children's programming, reading nights, and craft time, and all kinds of service. We just recently started back in July, and we're happy about the turnouts. We've got 20 kids last night and about 6 parents, so which is good. We haven't done that ever since the pandemic because, you know, they really restricted us and we couldn't have this. And we took the barriers down 2 months ago, so we don't have no barriers up. And we're not saying it's limited here, you can come and go. And we don't, you know, time people how long they can stay in here. So everything we're almost back to normal. I'm gonna say we're always almost back to normal. Like I said, we have movie night, reading night, craft time, and Tris still has her notary service. She does that for the community. And we're a library here on the Navajo Reservation. There's one on the eastern side and we're on the western side. And I don't know if Hopi still has their library, but I know theirs is mobile. And people say that there's a small library in Tepada. I am not sure. I don't know. That would be under the Navajo tribe. But we do service about a 70-mile radius up to Page, all the way up to Monument Valley on Hopi, and then sometimes to the Grand Fall, Grand Canyon, all the way up into Bitter Springs. Those are the people that we take care of. And they come here for all kinds of stuff, and we're happy to provide them with it. And the elections office, I know they're only open on Friday, just for a little while, and then we have the sheriff's office downstairs. And I hear that we're gonna be housing the sheriff like here at the library downstairs, which we're excited about it. You know, we're going to have a law enforcement here in the building, which is good because of all the incidents that we've had. So that would be nice. So we're looking forward to that. And we've been donating books to the local jail here at the Tuba City jail. Bye. So we've been donating books to the local jail, and our patrons are very happy about the service. Some of them were surprised when they come back. They say that we didn't know that you guys were open full time now because we've been closed, you know, for so long, but we've been open for a while now. So they're happy about it with all the services that they have. And then we've been helping our patrons doing computer. Some of them are like computer illiterate, so we've been helping them and they're happy about that. And then, like I said, we're the only library here, and people want us to stay open a little longer, like up to 8 or 9 o'clock. And that's what we have to go home too, you know. So we've heard that, and we're open from 9 to 6. And we are closed on Friday and Saturday, but then we're open on Sunday and then through Thursday. And I believe that's all the report I have. And if you have any questions, go ahead.
Hello, this is Judy again. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
You can.
Okay. Thank you, Pearl, for the presentation and others that have did the reports and stuff like that. Just wanted to let you know that the county board of supervisors had gone in to try to look into a tribal building to be placed on the county island in Tuba City, and it just so happened that right that were come state, and then the county went and donated some, and there's going to be a tribal building that's going to be going up on the county island in Tuba City, and that building is going to probably cost us about 2.5 million, but we got all the monies together, so it's just a matter of, you know, having the staff started, and we hope to house some like the sheriff personnel, others, and that, so that we can make room, you know, for other areas. And then also our county board of supervisors office for District 4 and 5, they will be there at the building, and then possibly bring county services to that building. So we're just looking at that. I wanted to report that, and so we really push for that, and it's finally done. So I just want to give that report back. So we'd like to have some other offices, even from the tribe, if they want to meet with the people into the city coming in, you know, we will have some spaces for them to allow to use that. So, but I just wanted to add that onto Pearl's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Sounds good.
Board members, any comments or questions for Pearl?
Okay.
Okay, Pearl, it's looking like we don't have any further questions or comments, but thank you for your report to us today.
Trish, I'm over.
Okay. So she put herself on mute, so I think that's our signal that we can now move on to our action items. And the reason why I was trying to keep us within a reasonable time frame was because I just was not sure how long the election process would take. And as we were going through the meeting just now, I realized that we don't really have a formalized process that we've decided on, and I vaguely remember how the last process went. I don't think I was even there, and I assumed the chairship at somebody's request. But maybe if I can lean on the library staff there to kind of guide us on how we can do this, that would be a great start.
What I would imagine any of the voting members can nominate someone to be the chair. And of course, anyone nominated can say, no, I don't want to be nominated, or I think people can nominate themselves if they have interest in serving as chair.
Okay, that sounds good. Let's focus on the chairship first, the chair position. So I'll open up the floor for any nominations, whether you want to nominate somebody else or yourself for that chair position. The floor is open for those nominations for the chair.
Carmelita, are you willing to continue?
Thank you, Frank. I really believe in empowering others as well, and I think this is a good opportunity to kind of move on and provide to somebody else. And I would like to decline, but also just offer that I'm open for the vice chair position, just kind of in that mentoring role, the transitioning role, but not the chairship at this time. Thank you. Any self-nominations? Catherine, would you be open to taking on the chair position?
I'm kind of with you, Carmelita. I think we should all share, and everybody should take a shot at it. I mean, it's not difficult, as everybody can see. You just kind of go through the agenda, and that's really all there is to it. So I think I'm with you. I think we should kind of round robin here.
Yeah, and my term is up in October, so I don't think I wouldn't be here much longer.
So it's kind of looking like
this is what happened last time.
Okay.
I mean, it seems like this process doesn't, like, I don't know, doesn't seem to work well because nobody wants to, from the past, and we were kind of in the same boat of nobody wanted to step up and do it. So I don't know if there's any other way to do it.
I'm willing to do it if we can get as long as people understand that sometimes I can't make meetings.
Oh yeah, definitely, Frank. Yeah, I think we're all supportive of making sure that other people can step up, and Catherine's done a great job of doing that for me when I was unavailable. So there's that cushion. All right, I will go ahead and just ask the board to kind of formalize that nomination process. So Frank is self-nominating. Could I get a second for that nomination?
I'll second.
Lisa, thank you. So we'll move on to just formally electing Frank into the position. I'll go around the table and just ask for your vote. So this action item is to nominate Francisco Garcia for the chair of the board for the next term. It's a one-year term. Let us start with Catherine. What is your vote?
Yes.
Okay. Supervisor Judy Begay, what is your vote?
Yes.
Okay. Lisa Gainey?
Yes.
Frank Garcia?
Can I vote?
I believe he can.
No.
Yes, why not?
Yes, I'll do. Yes.
Corey
Yes.
and Beth.
Yes.
Okay, so it is unanimous with 6 in favor, 0 opposed, and 1 abstention. We now have a new chairship, and I did communicate to Starla that I would go ahead and finish out overseeing this meeting, and so at the next meeting, you would be the new presiding Frank.
Okay. And Starla is my contact?
Yeah, I have your contact.
Okay. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much for stepping up, Frank.
Yep.
I'm excited. All right, so moving on to the vice chair position. Are there any self-nominations for that position? Or nominations for somebody else?
Well, I nominate Carmelita, since you already said you would do it.
Second,
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right. So Corey motions, Judy second, and I accept. So we can just go ahead and put that to formal vote as well. Same process. I'll start with Catherine. What is your vote on electing Carmelita Chief as the vice chair for this new term?
Yep.
Okay. Judy Begay.
Yes.
Okay. Lisa Gainey.
Yes.
Okay. Frank Garcia.
Yes.
Okay. Corey Hartman.
Yes.
Okay. And Beth Verstraete.
Yes.
Okay. So, okay, so with that, the vote is 6 in favor, 0 opposed, and 1 abstention. So Carmelita, myself, will take on the position of vice chair. So thank you for helping to navigate that process. I was getting a little anxious about how we were going to do that and was hoping it would just work itself out organically, and it did. So thank you. With that, we will go ahead and move on to action item 2, review request for reconsideration.
So at the last meeting, we had brought this new wording for our request for review of library materials. And we had talked a little bit about it, but some of you had indicated that you wanted a little more time to study this and to also look at the Library Bill of Rights, the Freedom to Read, and the other things that would be attached and are referenced in this change to this process. So thoughts, since you've had time to consider the policy itself and also the other documents that it references.
I have a question about the strategic plan and if it might impact this document in any way. Do you think?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
I think it's really important for us to have this in place, just given the increase in requests to remove materials from libraries that many libraries have been experiencing. We haven't had a ton of those yet, but it doesn't mean that that couldn't start happening tomorrow. And so I think it's really important for us to get this policy in place and be ready to respond. Lisa, were you asking me something?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. I shared an article that Starla was kind enough to include in an email. It was from the Washington Post. And it was one of those ones that make me really feel good that we are talking about addressing this and clarifying the policy. Because while there's only been like one request or, very small number of requests here, it's clear from reading that article and many other ones that I've been looking at recently, it takes 1 or 2 people in a community to get a group of people to then participate in whatever banning they're interested in, depending on what the interest group is. And that article that I shared was probably the best example, but there were many others that talked about, the leader of a group deciding to ask all its members to go in and do the same thing. And it takes off very quickly. It's like an exponential thing, 1, 2, then next time you got 10, then you got 100. And I'm not saying it will happen here, but if it does, I just feel like we're wise to be as prepared as possible. So that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I really appreciated that article that you shared. And I was thinking about the questions that are asked on the form in light of what happened in that town. And it looked like they had some similar questions. Particularly, they used the "Have you read the material?"
Yes.
And things like that. But I couldn't really think of anything else that you could add to the questions that might not limit the number of requests, but that might make them more robust, the process. Mm-hmm. It seems like a lot of the questions that are on here do a good job of asking people to reflect. But I guess if you're getting 53 people sitting in a room, filling out a bunch of requests, is there any option to limit how many requests somebody fills out? I guess that's not really a fair thing. I don't know.
I understand.
I think some policies do limit the number of times one particular title can be reviewed in a year. I don't think that we added that, did we? I'm trying to remember.
I don't believe that we did. In terms of limiting how often an individual could do it, that you're starting to get into freedom of speech there, and limiting somebody's freedom of speech.
Yeah. Now, the title, though, could be, is that
strategy? Well, we could certainly look at that. I think what a lot of other library systems have done is they've begun, saying, we'll look at all of these on a month-by-month basis, set aside that set amount of time, and we'll get to them as we get to them. So when you have that system set up, the volume doesn't matter as much because you have a finite amount of time that you can get through. So I know I looked at that Washington Post article also the morning it came out. I'm from DC, so I read the Post a lot. And I noticed that was a tactic many other libraries were starting to have to use, unfortunately, just because honestly, we don't have the staff time to respond to a million different, challenges. So there are other ways that we can do it without limiting an individual's freedom of speech, which is not at all what we want to accomplish.
Right, and I think that the important thing is just to get this in place right now, and if we did become buried, we could come back and revise it. And one simple thing would be changing it from a 60-day response to 90 or 120 days or something like that. If we start getting inundated, you could do something simple like that, that would give us time to respond.
Yeah. I'm sorry if this is a stupid question, but is there a way to require a critical mass of requests on a particular book before it comes to review? Like at least 5 people have to notice this book is a problem, or is it just one person doesn't like it and it can be gone?
It's always, in my years in libraries, it's always been just one person.
Okay.
Sure. Per title. I think it's important to allow people to do that, even if it is only one person, because there are situations, and we talked about this before, there are situations where it's perfectly legitimate. I mean, somebody looking at a Thanksgiving book, a children's Thanksgiving book, and saying, gee, your representation of Native Americans is not really appropriate, it's very out of date, and this should be removed. You know, we're not gonna wait for 4 more people to say that, we're just gonna remove it. So I mean, I think that trying to anticipate all the possible what ifs that might happen is very difficult. I think the most important thing is just to get these updates in place right now, and then if we have to, you know, swing back to the board with further revisions, suggested revisions, we can certainly do that.
Makes sense.
Okay. I see a hand up by Kirsten.
I did just want to comment on Lisa's question there, just reiterating that, and I'm sure you know this, but a request for reconsideration does not necessarily mean that we will immediately remove the item from the collection. So having one person request reconsideration just means that it's going to be reviewed. And if there is no real valid reason to remove the item, there's no real I guess, damage done, other than a waste of staff time, which is, as we all know, is a very valuable resource, but is not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily mean that one person can remove any item they want to.
And is this an online form? Or will it be a paper form?
Do we have it online also?
Right now, it's
No,
only
it's-
paper. We could build it out to be online.
Because I was wondering if you were gonna collect that information, because if it's just on paper, you know, trying to find how many times this book has been reported, you know, would be difficult. But if it was something online, then it would be easier to say, oh, well, there's been, you know, 100 requests for this book to be removed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I haven't ever, that's never really been necessary because in all of the positions I've held, I haven't had more than probably 3 to 5 a year. So it's been pretty easy to notice one book receives more than one.
I think that the climate nowadays is so different.
Yeah.
It could snowball into
It
that
could.
thing
It
in Virginia easily. You know, you get a couple of people that decide.
It could.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's wise to like try to prepare for targeted books, but also keep in mind the books that are just, you know, maybe it's problematic, like that Thanksgiving book, those type of considerations, but also anticipate targeted books. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, Kirsten mentioned kind of a waste of staff time, but I don't even think it's a waste of staff time because we're really responding to our public, our taxpayers, the people that pay for the library. And also, you know, in this process, we're asking different professional staff to have this experience and review a material and respond to this sort of thing. So it's staff development too.
And you get to see what the community started to say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a great point, Linda.
I agree. Any other comments, feedback, questions? Okay, so Linda, so I guess what the requested action would be is for us to formally accept this and approve it for library's use today. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So the action item on the table would be approving the review request for reconsideration that has been provided to the board for the board's review, and we've had a chance to considerable time to review it and also ask questions and get additional information before voting. So I think we're in a good spot to definitely attend to that today. So that being said, the floor is open for a motion.
Is this motion to adopt the changes in red in the document? Or just to motion to adopt the document?
Yeah, everything in red, which is actually the majority of it. But yeah, everything that is a revision.
Okay, you can describe it as how you just described it, Corey, in that motion.
Oh, okay. I move that we adopt the document as presented to the board today.
I second.
Okay, seconded by Catherine. All right. So with that, I am going to go around and open up the floor for voting on that motion. Catherine, what is your vote?
Approve.
Okay. Judy Begay?
Yes.
Okay. Lisa Gainey?
Approve.
Okay. Frank Garcia?
Approve.
Corey Hartman?
Approve.
Okay. And Beth Burstraight?
Approve.
Okay. All right. So we have unanimously approved that. So with a vote of 6 in favor, 0 opposed, and 1 abstention, that review request for reconsideration document as presented to the board has been approved. Great. That's exciting to move that forward. I know it's been a discussion point for a few months now. Okay, we don't have anything listed under informational items from board members, but the floor is open. You guys are welcome if you want to mention anything that you would like for the board and staff to know about. All right. All right, moving on to item 8, agenda for future meetings. Just note there that in September next month, we will have an airport presentation by Brian Gall, the airport director. So, and then turning the page to item 9, our next board next board meeting is going to be on September 14th. 2023. At that time, we will have a new presiding over the meeting, and that will be our new chair-elect, Frank Garcia. Congratulations once again, and thank you for taking the helm of the board. So with that, I will now move to the final item, which is adjournment, and I am seeking a motion for adjournment and then a second.
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, Lisa. All right, so all those in favor, I guess at this point, just a verbal aye.
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 Okay, awesome. So 6 in favor, 0 opposed, and 1 abstention. We have officially adjourned at 2:12 p.m. And I'm so happy we kept it within time this time. So thank you so much. And we'll see you all in September again.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, everybody.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah, we'll have to do that by email.